For thousands of years, reports have been made of strange sightings in the sky. Fiery discs and phantom ships seen long before airplanes or spacecraft were even dreamed of. Silver shapes battling and unexpected comets appearing above a city and disappearing after a few hours.
In more modern times, such sightings have been dismissed as weather balloons, geese, and other very terrestrial phenomena by skeptics and scientists. So were they really UFOs, or were people just using their imagination and limited understanding to explain the unknown? That's what we set out to uncover in this episode of
Is That For Real?
Perfect.
So, there's a little background information for you. But are UFOs for real, or are people just seeing stuff they don't recognize and attaching labels to it or something like that? What do you think, DeAces? Do you believe in UFOs?
I do, but I don't think they're what most people think they are.
What do you think they are?
Or what a lot of people say
What do
that
most
they are.
people think they are?
Well, okay, I don't know what most people think, but a lot of people, of course, attribute UFOs, UFO sightings to aliens, extraterrestrials. I don't personally think that they're aliens. I think that I think they're government aircraft that they don't want to talk about.
Tech.
Tech.
It's like
Yeah.
tech. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, let's play. I found some really interesting information from a Gallup poll about what Americans believe about UFOs and the like. So let's roll that segment, and then we have a whole bunch of sightings to go through and talk about how that influences what people think. So let's play that real quick. A Gallup poll taken in September of 2019 found that 33% of U.S. adults believe that some UFO sightings over the years have in fact been alien spacecraft visiting Earth. The majority, 60%, are skeptical, saying that all UFO sightings can be explained by human activity or natural phenomena, while another 7% are unsure. 16% of Americans say they have personally witnessed something that they thought was UFO. And 68% of respondents believe the government is withholding information about UFOs from the public.
I'm honestly surprised that more people don't believe this.
Oh, really? You expected more than...
I'm expecting more than this. Yeah, I mean, who hasn't seen UFOs? And I'm not... Oh, come on! Are you?
I've never seen anything.
Not once.
Yeah, but we've had this discussion before. Back to episode 1, sheep goat effect.
Okay.
Right. That because I don't believe, meaning the extraterrestrial part. The extraterrestrial part. We'll get.
They don't appear in front of you.
When I see a light in the sky or whatever, I just think, I don't know, it's a star.
It's like, oh man, someone needs to shut
street
the light
lamp.
on.
Why is the street lamp flashing? I don't know. I don't look at it to see that it might be one of those other things. Whereas because you believe you've had these experiences, apparently 33% others have.
I've seen a couple things.
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple things that I think are UFOs. And I don't mean, before everybody gets all crazy, I don't mean like aliens or anything like that. I mean, I think I've seen government technology testing crap.
Unidentified flying objects.
UFOs, yes.
Extraterrestrial. Gotcha.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So, I remember being in Charlotte a year ago, about, I'd say a year or two ago, and being on a building top, because they have a really nice nightclub over there, and a few of us seeing a strange football-shaped object that was lighting up white, sitting there hovering around one of the downtown buildings for about 20 seconds. And it just kind of came out of the clouds because it was a cloudy night. Anybody who lives around Charlotte, the buildings tend to go up into the clouds. But anyways, the clouds were sitting just above or kind of on the top of the skyline. And the tallest building there, I don't know what it's called, but I think it's the bank. This strange looking, it wasn't that big. It wasn't that big because, I mean, it was small in comparison or in proportion to the building, the main building. But it comes down like that, and it just kind of sits there and then goes like that, just stops, and then it kind of drifted back up, sat there for a second, and then just goes back into the clouds. And I remember a few of us saying, wow, what was that? Did you just see that? And we were like, yeah, I saw it too. So, no, I definitely believe in UFOs.
Well, one thing that impressed me, and we can go ahead and start getting into some of the sightings, because what we're going to do is we're going to go through a list of sightings. There's a lot.
It's
There's
like,
been
who
a
hasn't
lot
seen these things?
of recorded sightings. That date way back, way back. The first one, though it's disputed, comes from 1440 BC, ancient Egypt. And according to a particular papyrus, the scribes of the pharaoh reported that fiery discs were encountered floating over the skies. Now, the thing that hits me or is striking to me about the old reports of this stuff in the sky is that they didn't have any tech.
Right.
Like today, a lot of the skeptics, and I totally understand why.
Even I'm somewhat of a skeptic.
They'll say it was a weather balloon,
right.
or it was something they didn't know what they were looking at, whatever. Which that works today.
Yeah.
But in the past, in ancient Egypt, or as we're going to see in ancient Rome, they didn't have weather balloons. So what did they see? And that makes it more interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was more skeptical until we talked about all of the, just occurrences. And then as we're going over the occurrences in preparation for this episode, the whole sightings before technology made me start wondering. And I remember one. If I'm not mistaken, and this... correct me if I'm wrong here. Christopher Columbus, or I think I saw an episode on Discovery Channel or something like that years ago where Christopher Columbus or one of his crew members or a few of his crew members think they saw something. So I forgot about that, but as we were sitting here talking about all the sightings before technology, that makes me wonder. Could there be aliens? I mean, after all, I don't see why not. We're here, right? Universe is big. Hell, even the galaxy's big. So, yeah, that's kind of caused me to kind of wonder a little bit.
My skeptical brain immediately dismisses it being extraterrestrial. Not that people aren't seeing anything.
Right.
Because clearly, you go back to the ancient times when they didn't have tech. They're seeing something.
It's true.
But my brain goes to how huge the universe is, how huge the galaxy is, how far away everything is, and how unlikely it would be that we would ever be visited by life from somewhere else in the universe, even though the math says it's possible that it exists somewhere else. And we were talking earlier that if there were things coming into Earth's orbit, with all of the amateur astronomers and all the professional astronomers always having their telescopes aimed at the sky, many of them these days hooked up to video and recording everything that's happening, if this stuff was coming into the atmosphere from elsewhere in the galaxy or whatever, through the solar system, we would see all of that happen.
Right.
But you never see videos, even the really cool, fun stuff on YouTube that we were looking at. You don't see video of that. You don't see people tracking these objects coming into our terrestrial space. You see something that happens in the sky.
Right.
That's true. That, to me, leads to either tech or, in the past, if it couldn't have been tech, maybe it's some kind of weather phenomenon that we just don't understand right
That's
now.
true. I mean, I've seen meteor showers before.
Right.
And I've seen all kinds of stuff that's happened in the sky. And if you were an ancient, you could interpret that as some kind of magic or, something from the gods.
Yeah.
Because it's rare And they had no way to explain it at the time. They had no idea what they were looking at.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we can look at it and say, okay, oh, that's northern lights, or oh, it's a meteor shower, or oh, this is, that.
That's a really good point. That even in the past, people used what they knew and what they believed to explain what they saw. And even today, as much as advanced as people are, in comparison to the past, humanity doesn't know everything.
That's right.
So they're still going to describe what they see based on what they think they know, and they're not necessarily right, as we've discussed before. People, they're not aware of everything. They don't know everything. I mean, you want to believe that the weather can be predicted, look at the 5-day forecast and laugh when the 5th day actually comes around.
There's definitely more we don't know.
Yeah, there's limits to what people understand. As much as, as much progress has been made, we don't know everything. Yeah. But there's just these really interesting, and I'll put a link to the list of all these in the video description. The ancient ones really get my attention that I find interesting. 218 BC, ships in the sky seen in Rome. The historian Livy records a number of portents in the winter of this year, including phantom ships that had been seen gleaming in the sky. Gleaming in the sky, like shining like metal in the sky, which is what a lot of people, even today, say that they've seen. So what were they seeing? Yeah.
Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, yeah. I remember that
movie. It was like the mirror-looking ship.
Yeah, that would gleam in the sky.
That could have been based on something real. We'll never know.
Disney's got ends with the extraterrestrials. E.T.
Oh, man. That's it.
No.
Aliens like the Disney Channel.
Tinfoil going on. And then we got 76, spark from a falling star, again in the Roman Republic. According to Pliny the Elder, again respected Roman historian from back in the day, a spark fell from a star and grew as it descended until it appeared to be the size of the moon. It then ascended back up to the heavens and was transformed into a light, which that's really interesting based on, you showed me a video from Norway.
Yeah.
Just from a couple of years ago, where something very similar to that happens in the sky.
That was crazy. That was
all
insane.
kinds of people recorded on their phones and stuff. This is not a hoax.
No.
This happened. And
it's one hell of a hoax as if it's a hoax.
Yeah,
and it's a hoax that the
yeah.
aliens probably were doing. Like, yeah, here, let's mess with these earthlings.
Yeah, so then the question, my skeptical brain says, okay. And when I say skeptical, I don't mean I'm just doubting that people saw anything. I think they really saw it, and you can see it in the videos. But if something like this happens, like once every so many thousands of years, and it just hasn't been observed enough for anyone to really know what it is, of course it's going to freak people out. So who knows?
Most things that humans haven't observed a lot of tends to get, what do you call it, romanticized, blown up, basically.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, here's a good one. 74 BC. A flame like, I don't know how to say it, pithoi, from the sky. This is in Asia. Still under the Roman Republic, because, they ruled everything back then. According to Plutarch, another Roman historian, a Roman army commanded by a guy whose name I'm not going to try to say was about to begin a battle with another army when all of a sudden the sky burst asunder and a huge flame-like body was seen to fall between the two armies. In shape, it was most like a wine jar, and in color like molten silver.
It's a meteor.
Plutarch reports that the shape of the object as like a wine jar. The apparently silvery object was reported by both armies. So we're talking about groups of people.
The aliens wanted the army to just chill out and have a drink.
The flight of the Navigator was silvery.
It was. It was.
You might be right. I don't know. You got something going on there.
I mean, that, and see, that is kind of the stuff that makes me wonder, too, because a lot of I don't think I've seen anything silvery. The only UFOs, I think I've seen 2 or 3 UFOs in my lifetime. The one that I can readily recall is the one that happened like 2 years ago in downtown Charlotte, where a lot of us, like I said, were looking, going, what the hell is that? Now, it wasn't silver. Like I said, it looked like almost like a, It's like a light bulb, a white light bulb shaped like a football hovering around and then went back into the clouds.
What you described sounds very much like the Tic Tac UFO.
Yeah.
That the Navy, I think it was a Navy pilot, or maybe it was Air Force. We'll get to it because it's in the list. What he saw,
Yeah.
and it was two pilots. What they saw, and also there was another pilot from 1947, I think it was. What he saw, the one from just a few years ago described it as a giant flying tic tac. The guy from 1947 describes it as a giant flying torpedo-shaped thing. But it's all very similar, very bright. The movements are very much similar to what you described. So I find that interesting, but I've never seen anything like that personally.
But the silver, getting back to it, the silver one, and how people keep talking about the silver stuff and even ancients. Now, like I said, a lot of these similar sightings, it leads me to wonder what they're really seeing or what we're all really seeing.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. Another one, 196 AD, angel hair it's called. Again, in Rome. Historian Cassius Dio described a fine rain resembling silver descending from a clear sky upon the Forum of Augustus. He used some of the material to plate some of his bronze coins, but by the fourth day afterwards, the silvery coating was gone.
I'd say I believe about half of that. Meteor shower, and then I don't know about the rest of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Because meteors can look silvery. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, though.
Yep. Then we've got way fast forward to the 16th century, 1561. This one actually has a date, April 14th, Holy Roman Empire. Residents of Nuremberg saw what they described as an aerial battle, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object and then a large crash outside of the city. The broadsheet claims that witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, time to come in.
What I find interesting about that, particularly interesting, is the black triangle, because some of the modern sightings have described black triangles also, which in my head, when I think black triangle, it immediately goes to the ships, because airships that are triangular, you see in like Marvel movies and stuff, they have the big triangular whatevers. And so for today, I'm thinking, well, that could be some kind of an actual craft. But what were they seeing in the 16th century? If they saw a black triangle and all these weird shapes in the sky. It's very, very fascinating.
That one's kind of, that one's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And there's a lot of them like that.
Definitely ain't no meteor shower.
Yeah, no, not floating around. They called it a battle. It looked like a battle in the sky. And it couldn't have been, I wouldn't think it would be a meteor shower because they were very familiar with meteor showers. By then, there was a rudimentary form of astronomy. Right. People could look into the sky. They didn't have light pollution like we do today. So when there are meteor showers, people saw it.
Yeah, right.
So that was different.
Yes. Well, the movement of that is another thing that makes it interesting. Because like I said, that was the thing that really, made me give it a second look in the sky when I saw this thing in Charlotte 2 years ago. Is at first I thought it was a helicopter, and I was like, well, that helicopter's hovering pretty close to that building, and then I saw the way it moved, and then it just kind of went like that, and I was like, okay, I don't think helicopters can move like that, and they don't light up that much, and there's no lights flashing on it, and it's not making noise, and there's nothing on top of it. And I was like, okay, that's not a helicopter.
Interesting that you should say that you first thought it was a helicopter because in one of the modern fighter pilot descriptions, and we'll get to it, the pilot said that it moved like a helicopter, but that its movements were faster than a helicopter would be capable of. But it wasn't so dissimilar from a helicopter, like we talked about before. It wasn't like it was teleporting around the sky. It was moving like an object would move in the sky.
If it had really good self-control.
If it had really good control. And that makes me think of stuff like drones, because if there's not a human being in the drone,
drones have very good control.
Then it could move faster. But if there's a human in there, they're going to black out because of that kind of speed. The G-forces would be too much.
That makes sense. Now, see, drones can fly with a lot more. I mean, and I'm no aviation, but I've seen drones fly with a lot more precision and grace than I've seen helicopters. That's for sure.
Sure.
I mean, helicopter, if it tried to move like this UFO that I saw, it would be wobbly, and it couldn't move that fast. It couldn't just sit there and just kind of drift and go like that, and then just
Yeah.
it was too coordinated looking.
Yep.
It had too much control.
That's one of the things that it seems to be pretty unanimous when actual pilots have described what they've seen.
Right.
That the movement was something that a human being couldn't have been in that ship.
I don't think
Whatever
so.
was moving, because they would black out.
Something like that. I mean, that G-force would throw you around.
The acceleration is too fast. It's not outside of the realm of possibility, but not with a human inside.
Yeah, not a person. They wouldn't be happy.
All right, then we got 1566. This one is in Switzerland. And a broadsheet published in 1566 depicted numerous spherical objects appearing out of the sun. This event is depicted in a 16th century woodcut by these two guys. So again, spherical objects, just like, and this is a different country. This is 5 years later. They see the same kind of a thing. It's really interesting stuff. 1595, we've got another one where there are reports from the army of a bizarre comet that appeared in the city, staying pinned on the sky and shining over the camp. Reportedly, it stayed there for about 2 hours before vanishing.
Wow.
Yeah. Very interesting. It wasn't tech. If it was weather related or some kind of natural phenomena, well, what was it?
Right.
And that's the part that gets me interested. I don't think it was aliens, but I would really like to know what it was. Because,
still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's fascinating. And then we get stuff that happens today, like the video of that thing in Norway.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, well, what is that? If it's some kind of phenomenon, what is it?
Yeah.
Then we fast forward to the 19th century, 1801, United Kingdom, and a fiery object is said to have appeared suddenly. An immense moon-like globe, sound familiar? The previous one we read from Rome, with a black bar across the center of it. Wow. For a moment, it bathed Hull and the Humber, that's the place, in a mysterious blue light. Then it split into 7 smaller fireballs and vanished, which also harkens back to some of those early descriptions of the fire ships in the sky.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So what was it?
Yeah.
What do you think? It's curious. And of course, like with anything, there's going to be embellishment and exaggeration over time as people tell the story or whatever. But something had to trigger the embellishment. Something had to trigger the exaggeration. There's a kernel of truth in there somewhere. People didn't see nothing and make this up. So
I would
what
say
happened?
that's where I'm at. Like even with a lot of the ancient stuff, I would say maybe half of it's true. Mm-hmm. And then maybe over time or maybe through, someone's imagination and amazement, maybe the story got stretched a little bit, maybe just a little.
Yeah.
But like you said, I still feel like there's definitely truth in it.
Yeah. Now, the next one from 1803, it sounds like this one's just like totally fabricated because supposedly some beautiful young woman with red hair comes out. It's got some
Don't
box.
we wish?
Yeah.
Yes.
Holds out a box that no one's allowed to touch, speaks to them in a language no one's ever heard. Now that just
that's
yeah.
He was dreaming.
Yeah, and some UFO believers think this story was a credible document of a close encounter of the third kind in Japan, and everyone else says no, it's just folklore.
It was a man's fantasy.
Yeah. Funny how it's always a hot woman and not a good-looking dude who comes out. Yeah. Okay. So there's that one that I don't buy it. That seems like baloney to me. 1883.
I would love to get abducted by that shit. That's all I can say. Pick me. Here I am. Yes.
You can probe me all you want. 1883, Mexico. August 12th. The astronomer Jose Bonilla reported that he saw more than 300 dark, unidentified objects crossing the sun disk while observing sunspot activity in an observatory in Mexico. So this is not just someone hanging out on the ground seeing something. This is an astronomer. And by 1883, astronomy is a serious science. So this is not some, Yahoo doing this. He was able to take several photographs exposing wet plates at 1/100th of a second. It was subsequently determined that the objects were high-flying geese. Now, here's a problem I have with some of this. When the observances are so easily dismissed like this, it feels like a reach. Often, not always. Sometimes, it is a weather balloon or whatever. But like one of them where it was the Navy pilot. You think a Navy pilot's not going to recognize the difference between a weather balloon and something that he's never seen before?
Right.
But they wrote it off. Oh, well, he just saw a weather balloon, and then when he turned, he saw Jupiter. That's what they said. It was Jupiter. You think the Navy pilot isn't going to know the difference between a star in the sky and something moving in an odd way that you can't explain?
So I could just see that now.
Sir, there's something other than it's Jupiter.
Wait, what?
I mean, really?
It's a balloon.
I understand that skeptics want to dismiss. I get that. But come on. That is such a stretch to say that. So like things like this, well, it was just geese. You think the astronomer didn't know the difference between geese and something else? I mean, really?
Yeah, that's kind of a stretch.
I'm not saying it's aliens. I don't think it was extraterrestrials, but try to find something.
It's not Jupiter.
It's not Jupiter, and it probably wasn't geese. I mean, come on.
Believe me, if it was Jupiter coming for us, you would know it.
Were the geese on fire in Egypt and flying through the sky? I mean, come on.
I can't even imagine geese being that high. As high up as what a jet would fly at like supersonic speeds. They don't fly at that high. I've never seen geese in the
that's too much of a stretch. I get you're looking. I would rather have someone say, we don't know what it was.
Yeah. Not Jupiter.
It wasn't Jupiter and it wasn't geese. We don't know. It's okay to say you don't know. That's a problem I have with a lot of skeptics, that they want to explain it away. Sometimes we just don't have enough detail to explain it away. You don't have to believe that it was aliens, but don't try to write it off with something stupid. It makes you look like an idiot. And it makes the people who do believe that it's extraterrestrials or whatever point at you and say, look at the crap they're making up, in an effort to try to discredit and disprove things, which makes the believer just believe it all the more.
Yeah.
Be honest. We don't know what that was.
Yeah.
Admit it. It's not that hard. I don't know. 3 words. Come on, you can say it. Say it with me. I don't know. All right, 1896 to 1897, United States. First one in the U.S. of A.
Here we go.
Numerous reports of UFO sightings and attempted abductions that took place around the United States in a 2-year period.
Interesting. Wow.
I remember reading as a teenager in Parade magazine. You remember that? They used to put it in the middle of the newspaper? Parade. Yeah. Carl Sagan wrote an article about, and Carl Sagan was a believer in life being elsewhere, in extraterrestrials.
Yeah, he was awesome.
The SETI project, I believe he was involved in that, right? The search for life elsewhere. Well, and he wrote this really interesting article about how before there was the tech to even fathom aliens living on other planets, before people really knew what that was, it used to be very popular to believe that you'd been abducted by demons.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that one.
And then it switched when people started to study the planets and, the idea of Martians started to become into popular consciousness or whatever. Then it wasn't demons anymore. It became aliens.
If the Martians are up there, they're doing like the best like the CIA could learn a thing from them. Because they're doing a really good job hiding.
Yeah, they really are. But I do find that interesting that culturally, whatever it is in the human psyche that makes people believe that they're abducted by whatever, demons, aliens, whatever, that it's a continuation. Now, of course, the people who believe in extraterrestrials would say, well, it's always been aliens.
Right.
They just didn't know what that was.
That's
in the
what I was
past.
thinking. That's what I was thinking when you were explaining it. Maybe the ancients, because they had no other way to explain it, just like the other stuff that they saw in the sky, maybe they thought that these were demons. And as we are learning more about our universe and the world, and science is advancing, and we continue to see things, oh, maybe it was aliens. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not demons abducting people. Maybe aliens. Maybe, if you... I'm kind of a skeptic on that one.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not like they're ever going to admit,
Yeah.
if the government did discover anything like that, they're definitely not going to tell us.
And
But,
I'm
maybe it was
glad you
aliens.
brought that. This is a good time to bring
Yeah.
up the government. We were talking about this before, and in doing all the research, the U.S. government has had a lot of different projects studying this
Like,
stuff.
we don't know anything about
Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Blue
that.
Book.
Yeah, we don't
and
know
then
about that either.
them all the way up until 2007 to 2012. They were still funding. The New York Times broke a story. I forget the name of the project, one of their many. They broke another story about a $20 million funding of the study of UFOs. All the while, the government's saying, "Oh, we don't look into that stuff anymore. We haven't since
We don't believe in that nonsense.
since 1969." Well, when you say, "Oh, we don't study that," and then it gets discovered that, "Oh, well, you do study that," you are fueling
Yeah.
all the people's belief who do believe in aliens and extraterrestrials, because guess what? You're dishonest as hell.
Pretty much.
Why not just admit, we don't know what these things are. We don't think it's life on other planets. But
Something's
you know what?
going on,
We have an obligation as the military to protect the country, and so we have to look into everything.
Makes
I
sense.
mean, why not just say that?
That is something that's really interesting. I mean, if that's all that it is, why not just...
Why are you hiding it?
Yeah, and I'm not going to go up to them and demand any answers, but it stands to reason. If that's all that's going on, then why not just say, oh, yeah,
Yep.
that's what we're doing.
And
Okay, cool.
Since we're getting into the 20th century now, Project Sign, which was created in 1948 to study this stuff, when it ended, they created what's called an estimate of the situation, where it is said by the people involved and who knew about the project or whatever, that the group concluded that the best explanation for some of what they saw was extraterrestrials. That conclusion got shot down by the general who was in charge at the time, and it was dismissed as nonsense because there wasn't enough physical evidence, they said. However, okay, so it's dismissed. Nope, that's not it. And plus, it was discredited by another report, the anyway, whatever, this other report. So why not just make that estimate of the situation available?
Exactly.
For years, they denied it even existed until enough people were like, no, we were on this project. This was a real thing. And they finally go, oh, fine, it existed. And then ufologists file FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests,
Right.
to, well, just give us a copy then, and then
Yeah.
we'll give it to them. If you're not hiding anything, why not just hand it over? If it doesn't prove anything, this is why they don't trust you.
Exactly.
I get why they don't believe the government. I get why people believe the government's hiding something. And in fact, like we said in the stats, 68% of respondents believe the government is withholding information about UFOs from the public.
Oh, God.
I can't
That's
imagine
68? 68?
And the rest have never watched TV.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's like the ones out there? Oh, yeah, they totally would tell us everything, honey.
Yeah, sure.
Really?
The government's always honest with the people.
Transparency. What? I don't know about that one.
Yeah. So I get it. I get why people who do believe in these things, they point at the government and like, look at all the stuff they're hiding, because they are hiding stuff. It's clear they're hiding stuff. Now, why they're hiding it, they may have a good, I don't know, maybe it's national security reason or
There could
whatever.
be.
But you have to admit, it makes them look awfully untrustworthy.
Yeah, they're definitely not being transparent.
No,
That's clear.
Definitely not.
And then you think about all this investment that they do with alien. It's like I was saying earlier. if it's so bogus, if it was something like the Easter Bunny, you wouldn't spend and invest millions and millions of billions of dollars into looking for the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not real. So if, all this UFO stuff is so nonsensical, as a lot of them like to say, then, well, why is there so much funding, time, and resources going into it?
Yeah, that's true.
If
now,
it's baloney.
Now, I guess the conspiratorial skeptic part of my brain, which is a small part because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, though we are going to cover a bunch of the conspiracy theories on the show. That little part of my brain says, what better gig to have than your buddy on the Senate that is responsible for doling out the funds, giving you $20 million to investigate UFOs with your tech company. I mean, that's like a gravy train, right? So that part of my brain says, it could just be backroom deals. People are like, you go investigate some UFOs, ha ha ha, national security, and to line the pocket.
Is it that easy to get money from the government?
Well, the last one, the 2007.
I want to investigate Twinkies. I'm going to need $3 billion of your tax dollars and funding immediately. Thank you.
The most recent one,
national security.
The one broken by, I'm pretty sure it's New York Times, 2007 to 2012. It was a $20 million grant to this company. And I'll show the name because I don't remember the name. I'll show it on here. That is the line that the guy who gave the funding was friends with the guy who owned the company that got funded. And so, they're investigating
That doesn't
aliens,
make sense at all.
Yeah. And of course, he denies it. Plausible deniability.
I need to get some friends with more money, John.
Yeah, I'm telling you what. We need a gig like that. We should get
We're
a grant.
going to search cotton candy.
We're investigating UFOs. We should get a $20 million
There you
grant.
go. Hey,
Yes.
pick us.
I volunteered. Yeah, so then we've got all this stuff that happens in the 20th century, and I want to jump to the 40s because that's when things really start to ramp up.
Yeah.
And the 40s is
That's
the
true.
golden
Seriously.
age of the UFOs. All right, so we've got World War II. Over World War II theaters, small metallic spheres and colorful balls of light repeatedly spotted and occasionally photographed worldwide by bomber crews during World War II.
Wow.
This was called the Foo Fighters in the 40s.
Foo Fighters. Wow.
Yeah. Which explains where
Which inspired a very great band.
that's where the band came, the Foo Fighters. So that's very interesting. And I've noticed like Wikipedia leans heavy on the skepticism side.
Right.
Heavy. With everything that we've talked about so far, Wikipedia is quick to point out all the information and evidence against. And even in this list, anytime there was evidence against or it was decided that it was something else or they thought they knew what it was, they say that in the list. But a lot of these don't have any explanations for what it really was. And because Wikipedia leans so heavy skepticism, I guess there's not anything that's known to explain it away. Now, that doesn't mean it's aliens or whatever, but at least it's an admission, a quiet admission, that they don't know what it was.
Right.
And that's important. Admit you don't know what it was.
Yeah, things got real crazy in the 40s over there in Roswell and
47, right? Wasn't that Roswell?
something like that.
Yeah.
New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, all that stuff around there. Stuff got really weird.
Yep. You've got another one, Cape, and I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry, ufologists who know what all this stuff of. Cape Girardeau, Missouri. First responders and a Baptist minister allegedly view crashed spacecraft and alien bodies. Military arrives and swears witnesses to silence. That's the kind of governmental behavior that fuels people's belief in this stuff.
That's the kind of stuff that would make me believe it.
Why not just take pictures?
And I think I remember actually hearing about that or even seeing stuff on that. That would definitely fuel the fire right there.
This one's interesting. 1942, February 24th, the Battle of Los Angeles, California. Unidentified aerial objects trigger the firing of thousands of anti-aircraft rounds and raise the wartime status alert.
Wow.
This is the military.
I think I've heard of that one too.
Was it geese? Let's shoot down the geese.
Jupiter.
It's Jupiter. Fire on Jupiter. Okay, so what was that?
Yeah, that one's interesting.
It's fascinating stuff.
Something's up.
And what's interesting is before we started doing this research and looking into these, I had no clue. I had no idea. I knew, you hear about Area 51, you hear about Roswell. I loved the X-Files growing up. Fantastic show. I'm definitely more the Scully and he's more the Mulder for sure. But I had no idea that there was so many documented unexplained incidents.
Oh, yeah.
Or with really shoddy explanations in some cases. And in other cases, pretty clear. Oh, yeah, that was definitely a weather balloon. Whatever, Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
46, the ghost rockets. Mostly in Scandinavia, but also in other European countries. Numerous UFO sightings were reported over Scandinavia, causing the Swedish defense staff to express concern.
Wow.
I mean, come on. When the military gets its hackles up, something else is going on.
Sums up.
And I do, it's interesting. I've read other explanations that say, well, of course this happens around wartime because everyone's already in a frenzy. They're already in a fervor. People are starting to have these ideas about...
They could use it for propaganda.
Yeah, all kinds of things that it could be. But what's interesting is it never slowed down.
Right.
We keep going. 47, of course, we've got the Roswell UFO crash in 47, which that's a big one. United States Army Air Forces allegedly captured a crashed flying saucer and its alien occupants. The find was soon explained to be a weather balloon, but regained detention since 1978 after this guy starts to investigate. But it doesn't slow down. 48, 48, 48, 48, 49. 50, more 50, 51, 52, and all the way up to even recently, the video of Norway, that crazy spiral thing in the sky. This stuff happened. What was it? We don't know. It's very interesting.
I'm a believer of it. Like I said, I mean, the reasons why that is debatable, but definitely believe it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious what everybody thinks. Let's go through some of the most recent ones because it goes all the way up till just a couple of years ago. 2004, Mexico. A drug smuggling air patrol recorded on infrared camera what some claim to be UFOs. The footage was released by this person. The objects were, however, convincingly correlated with the burn-off flares of oil patterns. You see what I mean?
Right.
When there's an explanation that is believed to be the actual explanation, Wikipedia always has it because it leans heavy skeptic.
And that makes sense.
But when there isn't one, like the big one, this is probably the biggest one that really hit the news. In 2004, Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate on a routine training mission when a controller from USS Princeton informed them of what he thought was a nearby UFO. The pilots reported a tic-tac-shaped object that moved dramatically and quickly disappeared. The radar controller at USS Princeton also detected an object.
Wow.
So what was it?
Yeah.
Tic-tac-shaped, like the football. Like you said, similar in shape, similar in movement patterns.
The aliens
Yeah.
must have good breath.
It's a big alien. Tic-tac that.
They're trying to really send the message. Apparently, we're not listening, okay? We're not heeding the counsel here, okay?
You guys need a nuclear powered tic-tac. That's so bad.
Damn.
It's serious halitosis.
Just damn.
We smelled you from Mars. Yeah. Pretty rough stuff. So what was it? And this is another thing. When pilots, commercial pilots, Navy pilots, Air Force pilots, when they see these things and they're like, what the hell?
Yeah, right.
That perks up my attention. Because this isn't some random, uneducated, drunk slob down on the ground thinks he sees something in the sky. It's not that. These are trained people. Not that trained people aren't also, susceptible to stuff, but they're far less likely to be fooled into thinking it's something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, a lot of those people, especially pilots that you're going to train to fly your military aircraft full of weapons, I would imagine they're going to try their best to make sure and screen out the crazies and make sure they're pretty level-headed.
Yeah, they're not just going to do like your check this box if you've ever been committed of a federal crime. No, they're going to run some tests.
Probably a little, more elaborate.
Yeah. Are you insane? No. Here's your weapon.
All right, here you go.
Don't think that's
fly this F-18. No, wait, no, not there.
Yeah, but that's a really good point. You'd think they would test for this stuff. So the people who are flying these planes, these aren't the crazies.
No. No. I mean, and I see that across the board with people who are hired in positions like that. And like we were talking about in one of our last episodes, police, and how a lot of those people that the government chooses to hire, usually not always, and granted everybody goes through things and has issues, PTSD, but a lot of these people tend to be very level-headed. They tend to kind of call things like they see it.
Yep. And the next one falls to that too. 2006, O'Hare International Airport, UFO sightings, Chicago. United Airlines employees and pilots claimed sightings of a saucer-shaped unlit craft hovering over, one of the terminals before appearing to leave with a rapid vertical rise. Not just the pilots, also other employees. Hovers, takes off.
What if the aliens are just messing with us, John? I don't know. What if they're just like, peekaboo, oh wait there, see ya.
Yeah, you can see like the teenage alien gets a hold of Dad's ship. Watch what I do here. He's hanging out with his friends, They've been drinking a little too much. They lower down and take
opens
off.
Up the sliding window. He's like, hey, holding up like a monster drink or something. Hey.
Yeah, and then of course he gets put on restriction and he can't fly for the next year.
Don't you ever do that again. It's the third time this month.
But that makes sense, right? That there would be hooligan alien children. There would be criminals, right? That would be willing to do stuff that the normal aliens don't want happening in society. I mean, if they're anything like human beings.
Damn it, Jetson Jr. I told you 1,000 times.
If Star Trek
with the humans.
Star Trek is to be believed.
Yeah.
There's all manner of good, bad, and ugly out in the universe.
Star Trek. Now see, aliens, if you're going to visit us, be cool like Star Trek. Vulcans coming down here. Not the Borg. No, thank you. No, we're good.
Yeah. So, but you'd want it to be like the original Star Trek, where all the lady aliens wore miniskirts.
Green alien chick, hot babe chicks.
Skirts.
That's perfectly fine. Perfectly okay. You can enter without a visa.
You're welcome to immigrate. Okay.
Klingons, you guys are cool too, but don't come down here and kick our asses.
You would totally. They would adopt you.
The Klingons, man, I love the Klingons.
Would adopt you for sure.
Man, they're awesome.
2007, 2 more airline pilots see what they claim is UFO.
Wow.
Another 2007, the Dudley Dorito, were multiple sightings of a black triangle.
I think I did.
Black triangle? You mean like they saw back in Rome? Black triangle over the West Midlands of the United Kingdom, which began in November 2007. The phrase was coined by the local press after hearing witnesses describe the object.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah, that really intrigues me. As a skeptic, I'm like, okay, if
Right.
this is some kind of weather-related phenomenon, that would make sense because the descriptions from the ancient past have a striking resemblance to the descriptions of the modern day.
That's actually, like I said, what kind of got me leaning a little bit more as we were preparing for this episode, because I guess I haven't really given it really deep thought, and I haven't really dug deep. I mean, yeah, I heard the ancients think they saw stuff, but I never really, peered into it. And then as I'm realizing the ancients are still describing what a lot of people are describing today, and even, like I said, the little bit of stuff that I've seen, kind of,
It fits.
yeah, it's like, whoa, maybe they're out there.
Yeah. I definitely understand why someone who is already inclined to believes that all these things tying together proves what they believe.
Right.
Being the skeptic, I'm inclined to not believe, and so I think that the things that are not said prove that it's not extraterrestrial, but that there's definitely something going on in the sky and people are seeing this stuff, and it would be very good to know, in my opinion, what that stuff
Yeah,
is.
what is it?
I think it warrants funding
Yeah.
to research it because it could be important. Like just
be.
like understanding weather now. We know lightning isn't Zeus, pissed
Yeah.
off at people anymore, and it's good to know that it's not some god chucking bolts at you. It's good to understand what's really going on
Because now we can make lightning rods.
yeah, right. And
Go
what
that
if,
way.
What if those things are a threat, or what if those things could be useful in some way? It's worth looking into and studying and trying to figure it out, in my opinion. 2008, UFOs were sighted over a 3-county area. This is in Texas.
I think I heard about that one too.
During a 4-hour period of time by some 20 witnesses, radar data detected some objects. The Air Force was doing training exercises in the area during
No
the
way.
event, and their aircraft were identified on radar independent of the UFO. So what was the other stuff? I mean, there's so many more. 2008, 2009, 2010. There's a lot of these things that have happened. They bear a lot of similarities.
Oh, yeah, I
Some
don't think
things
these are just
ancient.
flukes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can rightly just dismiss it. Nobody's seen anything.
Right.
This is all just bullshit. I don't think anyone can say
Yeah.
that. But is it extraterrestrial or is it very much terrestrial, like I think? Is it tech from other military or our military? But then if it was that, what was it thousands of years ago when they saw it?
Yeah.
I lean
definitely.
towards natural phenomenon that's unexplained,
Yeah.
personally.
Oh, I mean, a lot of the stuff that they explain sounds like meteor showers. One of them sounded like a big meteor that maybe got exaggerated.
Sure.
Maybe
yeah,
it was a meteor, and
sure.
they're like, oh, then it rose back up. Well, yeah, maybe that got just twisted or stretched just a little bit. Yeah. But I think at least half of it's true, maybe even most of it. Maybe they're describing a meteor, though, because that's what meteors sound like, or that's what meteors look like when they come in, just,
Sure. And then you've got some that I would be inclined to just, that's total exaggeration, and dismiss, like the one who said that it became as big as, it looked like the moon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Until, wait.
That would be a problem.
Until you come farther into the modern day and people describe something similar, and then you see the video from Norway, that was as big as the moon would appear in the sky.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, okay, sure, of course there's some exaggeration going on. Of course, there's some exaggeration, but maybe that's not that far away from what they actually saw. Maybe that crazy spiral thing happened some other time in history.
Could be. Yeah.
That black hole disappearing into the black, that was really fascinating.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, and, we don't know. The universe is really big. If alien species were able to make it over to Earth, I would imagine they would have incredible technology.
Yeah. Well, and they'd have to get here. But
I mean, as advanced as we are, if something actually got here, wow, it's got to be that much more advanced.
if there are extraterrestrials on this planet, and I do not for one second think that there are, they are much nicer than human beings. Because if human beings had that kind of tech and went to somebody else's planet, they would just conquer it and kill everybody. Because that's human history for you.
You know, Independence Day would be the opposite.
Yeah.
It'd be like running toward like,
Yeah, humans would totally be like the bad guys in Independence Day if they had that tech and went to another planet.
Humans are too imperialistic. We want everything.
So. Yeah. Yep. One UFO to rule them all.
Yeah,
that's how they would be.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Do you believe in UFOs? Have you seen them? Because that poll said 16% of Americans have seen what they believe to be a UFO. That's a lot of people.
I'm surprised it's just that. I'm surprised it's not more.
Yeah. Well, 33% absolutely believe, but 16% said they actually saw something. And you said you've seen something in a group of people who also saw something.
Oh, yeah.
That looked like what other people have described seeing. So there's definitely something going on.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like UFO, I don't know. But by definition, yeah. I mean, I saw something I can't explain. I've seen a few of those. So don't know what it is. But
you have all the fun. I never see anything.
I know. You don't see nothing.
Nothing.
It's crazy.
I'm not very observant, though, so it may be that. It may just be that.
I don't know.
Sheep goat effect.
The universe wants to show me stuff.
You know, that's a very interesting theory you got there. Yeah.
I don't know.
You got to have faith, right?
I've seen a few things, not just for the sake of the show, but I have seen a few things.
Yep. Is that George Michael? Gotta have faith.
Gotta have faith.
Faith. All right. Well, if you have any good stories about stuff that you've seen or anything that's controversial that some people believe in and other people don't, definitely send us an email because we would love to have you on the show and let us know about it, because we are always looking for interviews of people to tell us what they've seen, what they've experienced. We're very open-minded people. Even though I'm skeptical, I love to hear people's experiences. I'm fascinated by it all.
No, we try to be objective either way. I know I do. Just... You never know.
I may not believe that what you think you saw or heard or experienced is what you think or saw or heard or experienced, but I don't question whether people believe.
Right.
Like they actually experience something. Because it's a weird world.
Yeah.
All kinds of weird stuff happens that people don't understand. And there's a reason for that. So let it go. Let people believe what they want to believe.
There's a lot of stuff that's inexplainable.
For sure. I gotta watch the X-Files again. That was such a great show.
Yeah.
Is that on Netflix? I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you like this video, be sure to click like. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification icon so that when we release new videos, you will get notified by YouTube. And as always, thanks for watching.